Good evening. This is Dr. BB, and I am coming to you just a little bit late tonight. And I think I'm actually going to move my show to this spot around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Um, Wednesdays are pretty much a busy day for me, back to back patients all day long, and in the middle of that, faculty meetings, etc. And so, what I what I think that I would like to do is just talk to you tonight about being in a funk, and I'm definitely definitely in a funk tonight. After reliving January 6th all over again, today watching the second impeachment of Donald Trump. Um, it's pretty crazy. So, usually I get all hyped up talking about justice and everything, and don't get me wrong, that's definitely, where my heart and head is. That's what I do, that's what I teach, that's what I live. But tonight I'm just not feeling angry. I'm just feeling sad. I think today, just watching all of this play out again, and listening to the case as it's being built against Donald Trump, and knowing that those Republicans that are will continue to follow him, and might most likely follow him to the death. They're just not going to see their way in voting to indict him, and that makes me incredibly sad, because how many times do we have to have the truth in front of us, um, you know, in order for us to get it? And I suppose that at least we're trying. And so tonight, I'm just not gonna cuss, even though I have my show marked as explicit. It's that's just in case, So tonight, I was thinking, I spend my time working with couples and individuals and families, and sometimes when I'm talking to my couples and they're just wanting to know how they can get along better, I talk to them a lot about empathy, and that's something that I've talked about on my show here. And I'm a single woman, and I love being a single woman. And one of the things that I tell my couples when they come to me for help is that, you know, therapy is not about saving your marriage. You know, we can make that the goal, but we got to work on the problems first. And when people are living together, from my view, and I'd like to hear some from my listeners here, is that you know it's kind of unrealistic to think that everybody should be hungry at the same time. Everybody should want to go to bed at the same time. Couple of the complaints that I hear all the time is that you know she doesn't want to have sex when I want to have sex, or he doesn't want to have sex when I want to have sex. And then I compare that to making a meal. I mean, are you always hungry for food at the same time? Are you always wanting to go for a run at the same time? So why is it that we think that our partners will always want to have sex when we want to have sex? That's just not realistic. And kind of reminds me of some of these, sitcoms where couples would actually arrange to have sex. They would have their date night and have sex. Well, we live in a busy time. And so that's just one of the things that I guess people don't understand, is that it doesn't mean that you don't love the other person. that you're not attracted to the other person. It just means you're just not in the mood, and that's just something that needs to happen. Um, you know, the same thing with going to bed, going to sleep, watching TV, and all of those things. And I got to tell you that I've tried the marriage thing, and it's kind of ironic that I'm a relational therapist. Um, but the thing of it is that I do know how to get along, and with my former husband, we get along great. We raise our daughter together. She's 21 years old almost, and she's in college and doing great. And he and I are best friends. We just recognized that we couldn't be married together. And I like having my space. I'm very ambitious. And sometimes that just doesn't work out so well in a relationship. And that's just something that I've had to admit to myself. The last serious relationship, to be honest with you, that I had, we broke up because of Donald Trump. Um, I just couldn't. I couldn't stand the rhetoric. I couldn't stand the crazy talk, and that was pretty much when I swore off white men. I just said I can't deal with this shit anymore. Um, so I guess I've been in a dating wasteland ever since then, and that's really sad. And I know that a lot of people have told me that this whole political thing has just messed up my love life, and that's the truth. It just does, and you don't know who to trust, and so I mean, obviously, one of the things that I posted once after I had gotten into a heated discussion with someone who wanted to take me out is he started talking all this racist bullshit, and I said, just about the time when I had made up my mind that I wasn't going to judge you by the color, aka the whiteness of your skin, you opened your mouth and you revealed your character. And so it just kind of puts a damper on things, when you now have to wonder, okay, so how do you think politically? I mean, are you a homophobe? Are you a xenophobe? Are you, just an out and out racist? I mean, what's going on with you? And I hate that. I mean, we've gotten away from the time when it's just like, do you like walks on the beach? Do you And so now when I have these couples that come to me and then it looks like that they're having a political battle, that's just a whole lot of stuff. Marriage in the first place is an antiquated institution, and it was all for financial reasons in the first place, and women were basically sold into their marriages, literally given a dowry of a mule or a bag of gold or whatever Papa had laying around just to get rid of the daughter. And I mean, we know that people have to, you know, have sex and have children to propagate the species. Yeah, we get all that, but we don't have to get married to have all those things. To be honest with you, I think that marriage just kind of screws up relationships in the first place. And why do we have to live in the same house together? That's one of the conversations that I have a lot of times with potential suitors. What do you mean? Would I ever consider moving in with you? No, I own my own house. Why would I want to do that? Um, so again, if any of my callers have anything to say, this is a marriage and family therapist having this conversation with you tonight. So just tell me what you think. I'd be interested to know. Um, it's okay to be independent. We have to know who we are before we can even exist in a relationship with another person. And families are great. Families are great. I love seeing families with kids and everything like that, but still people have to have their space. And for some reason when people are dating and or they're living together or they get married, they just think that they've got to be all in one another's space all the time, and that's just not the way it should be. We have to be different. We have to differentiate ourselves from one another. I mean, we spend our whole damn lives growing up trying to get the hell away from our parents and be grown. And then we get in a relationship And, we just thought we knew what it was like to be smothered and asked, "What are you thinking?" And, "Where were you?" And, "What are you doing on your phone?" We should not leave our parents' homes to have to get into a grown up relationship and have to answer these kinds of questions. You know, Number one, if you can't trust the person that you're in a relationship with to scroll through Instagram and and Facebook without looking for somebody to, you know, go bang for the evening, then we don't need to be in that relationship. And we also have to ask ourselves, where are these thoughts coming from in the first place? I mean, what has happened to me in my life, that I don't feel that I'm worthy enough for someone to live up to the promises that they made, either when you started dating and you decided, okay, we're going to be in a monogamous relationship, or when you get married and you promise then that you're going to be in a monogamous relationship. Now, don't get me wrong, I do believe in monogamy. I do. Number one, it's just safe. I mean, I don't want to have sex with somebody who's had sex with a gazillion other people well, not a gazillion, that's impossible. But you know what I'm saying? So I've always told the men in my life, hey, when you decide that, I'm not enough for you and you want to have sex, you just let me know and I'll cut you loose. And I am as serious about that as a heart attack. And that is just something that sometimes people can't stand to hear, but it's true. And so I am so down with that. Hey, you know what? You're not bringing anything home to me. So if you want somebody else, you go get them. Bye. And that is the reason that, I have my house. I have my key and I don't give my key to anybody else. This is my space. And, maybe I'll change one day. I doubt it. I doubt it very seriously. I love what I do and I work a lot, and people just sometimes they just need somebody that wants to be with them all the time, and that's just not who I am. And a lot of the people that I counsel, that is who they are, and I have to respect that, and I do. And I try to help them to work through those things. Um, One of the things that I also do is I counsel a lot of, premarital couples, and um, it's just important for them to recognize that, who you are today at 23, 24, this is not who you're going to be at 35 or 40. And one of the biggest complaints that I get from couples who are in their 35s and, 30s rather, and 40s is that, well, she's just not the same person that I fell in love with. Well, of course the hell she's not. You know, People grow, they evolve, you continue to develop. The developmental stages don't stop at 18. Hell, you're still an adolescent until you're 25 years old. Your brain's still developing. Your body's still developing. Your likes and your dislikes are still developing. And so, of course, when you're 40 years old, that's not the same person that you fell in love with. So we have to be realistic about these things. The other thing that I see is that when people meet somebody, they already start making off the list of what they want to change about that person. Well, I don't like how he dresses. She's a messy person. I thought that she'd change when we got married. No, this is the person you chose. Learn to love that thing about them. You know, if you cannot laugh or smile over the fact that your man drops his, you know, underwear on the floor and doesn't pick them up, it ain't that big of a deal. It certainly is nothing that you should spend an hour or 2 hours fighting about. And I certainly would hope that you'd have better things to do with your money than to come and pay me to talk about it. But the thing of it is, it's not really about the underwear. It's about the fact that you thought you could change this person and you can't. You know, that's like buying a pair of man-made synthetic shoes and hoping that they're going to turn to leather overnight in the closet. That's just not how it works, you know? So when you meet somebody, understand. And that especially today when, people meet and they read the profile and they see what you want. And when they first start talking to you, they are everything that you want them to be. Understand that it takes a little while for you to recognize, nope, you really don't like football, do you? You really don't like Mopar. Oh man, you really don't like Neo Soul. Yeah, I just, I knew that those were the things that you liked, you know. And those aren't the most important things in the whole wide world, but there's some really important things. You said you wanted kids. Well, I saw that that was important to you. That is not something that we need to be fooling around with. That can mess up some relationships. Religion's another thing. You know, if you have your values, your views, and those are the things that are important to you, and you think that you can pull somebody into a relationship and change their beliefs, that is not the way to go. That's just asking for some trouble there. And, you know, politics is the same thing. And right now we live in an era that, I never thought that I'd see. But we live in a time when it's no longer an argument over Republican or Democratic values. This is about just plain right and wrong. I can't, when people, say, why do you feel that way? You must be a Democrat. No, I'm a human being. I have a soul. I actually give a damn about other human beings. And, if that makes me some sort of freak in your eyes, maybe you need to look inside yourself and figure it out. Those are not conversations that we should be having with our romantic partners, to where they are so angry with us for the values that we hold, you know, and right now with the whole world at war with itself, right here in our United States, we definitely don't need to be having these wars in our homes. And I hear so many families that are just being torn apart on the inside. And we just live in such a time where with the pandemic, with all the racist bullshit that's going on out there, and then we've got this, I mean, Donald Trump is just like that old Saturday Night Live skit, the thing that wouldn't leave. And so we have to be able to recognize that in our relationships we can't be getting into these arguments, you know, about politics and expecting other people to change for what we believe. So when we find somebody, when we find somebody, we just have to say, you are who you are. I knew that you dropped your underwear on the floor. I knew that you were a Republican. I knew that you were a Jesus freak. I'm not going to try to change you. I'm going to learn how to try to understand you. We're expected to go into our workplaces and accept that we work with people who are different from ourselves. Well, the people that we marry or live with, they are also different from ourselves. Skin color doesn't make up who we are, doesn't make up our intellect, it doesn't make up our values. That's just a characteristic. So when people try to find somebody that's like them and that's all they're looking at is the exterior, well, they're going to be let down a lot of times. They're going to be let down a lot of times. And so it's important for us to make sure that when we are inviting somebody into our space, that our space is going to be the way that we need it to be for ourselves as individuals to continue to grow. And when people come in and they decide that they want to impose their views, you have to be like me. You have to want to eat when I want to eat. You have to want to have sex when I want to have sex. You have to believe the way that I believe. It's it's not going to work out. It's just absolutely not going to work out. And so those are just some of the things that I was thinking about today. Um, as I again was reliving January 6th, is that there is so much important stuff out there that's going on. And our homes should be a place where we can land. Our home should be a place where we can be ourselves, where we can know that the person that lives with us, that even though they may not agree with everything that we say and do, that they still love us. Why does everything have to turn into a war? And so as I listen to people talk about those things, I do hurt for them. These are their problems. And, and one of my patients said to me just a few days ago that whenever I'm talking about things that people say, well, everybody's got problems now. We're in the middle of a pandemic. So why do you think your problems are so important? Well, this is the thing. They are your problems. Your problems are going to be bigger than the other person's problem because it's your problem. You're going to feel it more deeply because it's your problem. And so when we can learn to communicate with one another and talk about the things that we actually do feel instead of being defensive, couples who are jealous of one another. I mean, my Lord, I've had 70-year-old people who are talking to me about the number of people that are liking a Facebook post and they're fighting over this bullshit. And I'm like, what? Come on now. So jealousy is the problem. Why are you jealous? Can you not just say, hey, that's really making me feel uncomfortable? Just say it. That's really making me uncomfortable. Say it out loud. Wow, I really felt jealous when I saw that so and so liked your post. If you can just say those words, then it doesn't live inside you and become a monster. If you're constantly asking your partner who this person is and who are you talking to and who are you thinking about? I mean, again, I got to say it. If you're living with somebody and you don't trust them, do you really want to live in that discomfort? Who would want to live in that discomfort? I mean, we live in a world where everybody's got their iPhones or their Androids in their hand. They're constantly looking at it. Sometimes they're not really looking at anything in particular. I mean, it's pretty damn sad if you ask me, but people are addicted to their phones. And that causes so much anxiety in relationships for people to have to wonder what is going on in your head. What are you looking for in your phone? And I think that being the pandemic is actually increased the number of fights people are getting into over their suspicions of who you talking to on social media, because social media is taking the place of real face-to-face conversations. And I've got Captain Jimmy calling in. Hey, Captain Jimmy, what's up?
Hey, nothing much. I heard your show and you're talking about some interesting and serious topics. I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, I've noticed people's interactions when it comes to like face to face. When I'm like walking around the stores getting my supplies or my groceries, etc. As I notice that people tend to be more, or tending to be more, I guess, reserved or shy Like they don't know
Mhm.
how to like speak with each other, and they just have literally everybody that I see in the store walking around with a cell phone in their hand and text. And what upsets me the most is a person, I've seen this numerous times, like the person they're texting is literally right next to them. I'm like, just talk to them. Get off the phone, get your face out of the phone, and talk to the person. I'm like, it's pretty sad that I can pick up that the person you're texting is right next to you. I mean, literally, all you hear is here, click, 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 and then bing, and then you're like, really, you're texting the person next to you. It's like, come on. So whatever happened to that human interaction, that human connection, that face-to-face time? Instead, we're becoming prisoners of a little handheld device
Well,
at
that's
our own
absolutely correct,
demise.
Jimmy. And people who haven't um, been communicating too well together now, they're having to stay in their homes together, spending much more time together than what they would like, and they still don't know how to communicate. And
For
so
real.
they don't think about important things, and so they end up fighting about the unimportant things. And I know that sounds
No, I get you.
rather hoity-toity of me to say something like that, but there's a whole hell of a lot of important things going on out there in the world that people
Mhm.
shouldn't be fighting about underwear on the floor or who liked your Facebook post. And I don't mean to
Mhm.
be sound like I'm bitching about my patients that I love. I absolutely loved every single one of them, but my heart breaks that we've got so much going on in the world and people are so unhappy in their homes and so unhappy with their lives.
What are you like a psychiatrist, psychologist, or
I'm a relational therapist,
therapist?
family
Oh, okay,
and yeah, and
awesome,
marriage.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed? Have you noticed that even when it comes to uh, dating has totally changed now. People, I mean, me as a guy, I try asking girls out, and I notice that some girls are real paranoid now about saying
Mm.
yes, going on dates or trying to go on a date, get to know each other. I even tell them, look, we don't have to go out to a public place. I can make a picnic or something. We can stay far away from people. It's just be us two talking. We can continue to wear a mask. We can, or whatever makes you feel comfortable doing. And I just want that human connection, that human interaction, talking, going, getting out there, uh, finding someone. But it's just like I don't know. It's difficult when you have people who are secluding themselves in their own mind you. Not it's not even in the house or in
Mhm.
an apartment. They're just secluding themselves in their mind. They're getting so lost in their mind that I mean, yes, take the pandemic serious. Yes, it's a real thing. Yes, there's many variations of it. But don't lose yourself within your mind to the point where you don't even know who you are, or you don't even know as a person, you know what I mean, you know what I'm trying to say,
Mhm.
they just like forget who they are.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I mean, yes, the pandemic is very, very real, and I'm one of those persons because I am one of those cerebral types
Mhm.
that I'm perfectly happy, you know, just working and doing my thing. Um, but I have seen the for those people who were out and about and partiers or just enjoying their social relationships and their jobs, this has really taken a toll on them. And again, when you are in the house with someone that you're accustomed to being away from for maybe 9-10 hours a day, and then suddenly you're all there together, um, it's really bringing out some of the, I guess, the ugliness. They say that familiarity breeds contempt, and so people start picking on one another over the silly things. And
Mhm.
of course, there's been an increase in domestic violence. during this time. And a lot of it is just simply because of the inability to really communicate how we feel, to just be honest about things and not be defensive about it. And
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, honestly, like, there's some people I work with, I've actually never seen their face. I don't even know what their face actually looks like. The only thing I see, because we all go covered up, completely covered up, and pretty
mhm.
much the only thing you see is like maybe like mid nose and up,
Yeah,
if that.
it's yeah.
So like I wouldn't even be able to recognize them. Like once the pandemic's over, we take all our stuff off, our mask and gloves and face shields off. I'll probably won't even recognize them.
Well, that's very true. You know, if we can't see, a person's mouth when they're talking, you know, whether they're smiling or not, we don't get a good idea. I mean, it's kind of like they say that the translation is lost when you're texting. Well, now it's lost when we're face to face.
Hmm.
Because we can't really see what's going on. And yes, the eyes do reveal a great deal, but it kind of only tells half the story. Our
Yeah,
eyes. So.
I'll give you an example of that. So, speaking about like going out on dates and stuff. So, like, I started talking to this girl. I started going out there for a little bit, and she happened like I've never seen her without her mask on. So she took
Mm,
her mask off because she we were gonna eat. We were gonna eat, and like literally, her face wasn't what I imagined. She wasn't ugly. It's just that like looking from like I said from like mid nose up, it paints a different picture. But then when you see like the full face, you're like, wow, you're totally different from what I thought the rest of your face would look like.
mm,
And then, but like I said, she wasn't ugly. She was actually really pretty. She had like a unique beauty to her. Like I was just like, wow. I'm like, I saw how funny. I mean, like I am like I said, like I envision one face, but then I see another face that's totally, completely opposite what I thought, and it just like blew my mind. I was like, these masks are a liar.
I had never really thought about that, to be honest with you. I'm accustomed to people telling me that they met somebody and found out that the photos that they had posted on the dating site were actually of their younger sister or even their daughter. I mean, I've heard some of the funniest
Oh,
stories. Uh,
oh yeah,
you know,
I tried the dating app, and I've heard some whoppers in my time, like girls using pictures of their friends and or using younger pictures of themselves. I'm like, okay, well, why can't you just be you? But it's like, why do you have to lie?
well, it's like eventually they're going to find out. Is kind of like the fake derriere.
Hmm.
Eventually, he's gonna figure out that's not your ass. Okay,
All
so
right. So, and the picture was a lot rounder and look a lot better.
yeah, yes, that is
Yeah,
true. Yeah, we just got to learn to love who we are because we sure as hell
exactly.
cannot love anybody else until we love who we are. And if we
Yeah,
have to use an app to make our jawline, narrower,
thicker,
or
narrower. Yeah.
exactly to add
Hmm.
boobage on where there is no boobage and bootage on where there is no bootage. We have to be who we are because eventually the truth comes out. It's just like I was talking about earlier, you know, when we meet somebody, and especially if you've met them online, you read their profile, you find out that football is really important to them, and you're going to be a football lover until you're just sick of doing it, and then there's a disappointment because you lied to me. um, we just have to be who we are. The
Right.
greatest thing in the whole wide world is to be really good friends with the person that you're in love with, and that the things that perhaps could be annoying are just the things that you find endearing about that person. And
True.
life
Like
is too short.
somebody for real, somebody once told me is how do you expect someone to love you for you if you can't even love yourself for your, you can't love yourself.
Well,
Like in turn, if you can't, love yourself, how you expect to love someone else? The first person that you show love to in this world is yourself. You have to take care of yourself. You have to keep yourself positive. You got to keep a great outlook on life, even through hell like the shit we're going through right now. I mean, like, it's about respect, respecting yourself, respecting yourself. And then in turn, you turn that love and respect, you turn it to someone else to show that, what kind of person you really are. I mean, people don't realize that they show their true colors, uh, when they put their guard down.
mm-hmm.
And when I say that, what I mean by that is, like, for instance, one of my friends, he met a girl, fell in love with her. They dated for a few years, and he thought he really knew her. He didn't know her until they moved in together. Then her real personality started showing, and he could not stand her. He got to the point where he broke up with her. He moved out. He moved back with his parents. And he's like, "Dude, I made the worst mistake rushing things with this girl. I really didn't get to know her until I moved in with her. She had disgusting habits. I mean, she like really put her guard down. She made like this false persona about her, and it
Mm.
just, it dissolved the second we moved in together. I was like, I told him, like, you see, dude, you really need to get to know a person before you made that commitment of moving in with her, because look what you did. Now you had to wait until your lease is up, or you had to pay the fee, and that was one hell of a fee to break the contract. And
Yeah.
then, like, he was just like very distraught about it. So he was living with a girl for 4 months, and they weren't even dating each other. They were bringing random people over, and the people that they were bringing over, they're like, "So who's this?" They're like, "Oh, this is my roommate." And okay, so you live with the dude, or vice versa, you live with the girl. So then this is kind of weird and stuff. So they were having hard times keeping dates or keeping, boyfriend girlfriends because of the situation that we're in. Because they had to literally explain to every single person.
Had to explain to
Yeah,
everybody, well, this was the person that I was dating. Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, the thing of it is that we do create the messes that we have. We create these messes, and we tend to complicate our lives. And our lives really should not be that complicated. If we just live authentically, be true to who we are, and tell the truth to the other people that we meet. You know.
Right. Like, and I always say, when people like break up, then they get depressed because they break up. I tell people, don't get sad, don't get depressed about it. Look at it in this way: every person that's not the one that you break up with is a stepping stone to the right person. Everything that you learn in that relationship about love, harness that, take those pieces and plant it, and let that those pieces of seeds grow into a beautiful a garden of fruit. And eventually someone will come by and take a bite of that fruit. And the more we learn from our past, or the more that we learn from our past failures in relationship, the good things that we made, that we learn, and the more we plant that, the better our love life, or the better the chance that we find someone who will love that about you. Focus on the positive, not the negative.
Well, that's some very good advice to give to folks. Um, because you are correct. Just like relationships are just like anything else in life. We learn from them. You do better in the next job you have because of the things that you learned from the job before. And
Hmm.
that's another thing that happens in relationships, is that everybody expects for their 35-year-old boyfriend to have never had sex before, you know,
Hmm.
um, never to have had anything going on in the life. So we can't expect that. People
Hmm.
had a life before they came into ours, and they learned things from that life. And
Well, there's always you got to admit, there's always that one person that had certain circumstances in their life that prevented them from having a relationship until later on in their life. So you can't really say that those people don't exist because they do. It's one out of a million, but they do exist.
Yes, but if your boyfriend doesn't happen to be that one, understand that he had
Yes,
relationships
and vice
before
versa.
coming into this one. Right, right.
And see, that's what I always take into consideration too. Like every girl that I date, they've dated three, five guys, whatever amount of guys. But I have to take that into account that they have more experience in the dating world than I do, and I gotta learn, to step up, not be so shy, or
Mhm.
not be so. Don't be. I hate to use this word. Don't be like a wimp. Be more confident. Be strong. Because I feel that that's what a woman wants: a confident guy who's strong enough to take take the lead when necessary in the relationship,
Mhm.
and be loving, caring, and compassionate, and be there.
Well, that's important to be fully present in a relationship, and I don't think that many people are fully present in relationships because they're not fully
Yeah.
present for themselves. There are too many distractions. People are uncomfortable with
Mm-hmm.
their own thoughts. And, as we were talking about at the beginning of our conversation, um, obviously, social media, we spend too much time,
Oh, that's the
on
devil
there
these
to
days, I tell
avoid
you.
to avoid being alone with our own thoughts.
Yeah.
And, if we can't grapple with the things that are going on in our own heads, then we certainly cannot, you know, deal effectively with the things that's going on in somebody else's head. And
Mm.
so it's just important for us to recognize those things, but it takes time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely, yeah. Yeah, man, there's like so much that the pandemic has changed in people. I see glimpses, like the people that I hang out with at work and stuff. I see glimpses of who they were before the
Mhm.
pandemic, and
Mm.
getting to the know them now. It's like, hey, man, those are like two different people. What happened to you? They're like, and I call them out. I'm like, sometimes I'm not afraid. I'll call them out. I'll go, I can tell you're a very outgoing person, but
Mhm.
now you're really reserved. Like, what's going on? They're like, well, it's because pandemic. I really can't go out and do this. I'm like, oh, okay. I
Mm.
mean, well, you could do certain things, and like, you don't necessarily. I mean, look what I did, for God's sakes. I got so, like, over here where I'm from, they did reopen the movie theaters and all, but
Mhm.
it's not recommended to go. And
Mhm.
now they're renting out the rooms for like $75 for like 4 or 5 people to watch a movie.
Mm.
So people are doing that now. They're getting groups of friends and families, and they're splitting the cost. But
Mm.
I got so bored to the point where I was like, if I can't go to the movies, I'll bring the movies to me. And in my bedroom, I literally turned my bedroom into a movie theater. I mean, I got me a projector, I got me the whole setup, and I
Well,
have it
okay.
projecting on my wall. It looks freaking amazing,
Hey,
right?
we learn how to make do. We can tap into our most creative selves, you know,
Yeah,
necessity being the mother of invention and all that. So, well, it sounds like you've got a good handle on things, and I appreciate you calling in. And
yeah, yeah, yeah. No problem, no problem.
yeah,
I love your topics. You have some great topics tonight.
well, usually I'm all political and you know, uh,
Mm.
but today, like
So
I
how about
said,
that? I was gonna say, how about that impeachment trial today?
well, yeah, that's the reason I just I just didn't have it
Mm.
in me tonight because I figured that the Rachel Maddows and all of those people can say it much better than me. They are the political analyst. Mostly the things that I talk about are social justice and the crap that's going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And But tonight, I was just all funked out because of having to relive all of those scenes from January 6th and
Yeah.
Officer Goodman, watching him and seeing him, trying to lead that mob away from, the chamber doors.
Oh
And
yeah.
that was
It's
terrifying. And I,
very heroic of him to put his life on the line like that. Because if they were to find out that he led them the wrong way, or that he falsely intended them to go the wrong way, stuff. God knows what would have happened to him.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we this happened, and that's the thing, is that this absolutely happened. And
So, do you believe that former President Trump committed a treason by starting an insurrection at the Capitol?
absolutely.
Same here. So, I mean, the evidence is there, black and white on Twitter. The pictures they got from Twitter, his comments that he did in his speech, in his speeches, what he
Yeah,
told them, and the fact that the people went out and did it when he said on command. And what was really obvious is when he said to stand back and stand by.
yeah,
I was like, really? So you're getting a bunch of crazy ass little militia people. You're telling them to stand by, stand back, and stand by. And
right,
then all of a sudden, January 6th comes, and here you are unleashing the hounds upon our elected officials, and who, mind you, who are doing their job like what they're supposed to do,
right.
and you're saying fake news and the election was fraud, but yet you have no proof. And he said this
Hmm.
over and over about the news. He's like, "Oh, it's fake news." All this stuff. Okay, well, where's your proof, sir, that this is
Right.
fake news? Just because you say something doesn't mean it's true. And it just blows my mind how stupid people are, or they believe him. He says he's like Kim Jong Un, that's telling the people of North Korea he can talk to dolphins, and they believe him. I was like, Jesus Christ, people, grow up.
Well, hopefully we can just forget
I hope,
about him soon.
yeah, I hope they do convict him. I mean, because if those Republicans, if they don't turn their vote over, they're just as much as traitors as Trump is. To allow him to say, "Oh, what he did was it wrong?" I said, "No, that's sick. That was very sickening to see that poor officer being smashed practically
Mm,
to death with
yes.
that door, and poor man was screaming for help, and you could see he was in pain. And then the psychos made a gallows outside the capitals with the news, and
Yep.
then
Yep. All of that happened. And,
and they how do they take the American flag and use it as a spear and spear a police officer? The one thing
right.
that, I mean, that was horrifying to watch. And then just to see, like, I mean, I gotta admit, I was really sad when I saw that guy. He tried jumping through the window, and the
Mhm.
cop shot him. I mean, he did what he did was wrong. The cop was nice enough to even give him a warning. First of
Well,
all, he told him not to
actually,
do it.
it was a young woman who actually is military.
Uh-huh.
So, which I'm not shocked by the fact that there were so many people in law enforcement and the military included in that mob. I was in the military,
Yeah.
and I know that those people do exist in our armed forces, and obviously we know that they exist on our police force. Um,
So you talk about the person who got shot, who jumped through the window.
yeah, yeah, she
Hmm.
was Air Force. Um, but we have to have these conversations, because
Yeah, definitely.
you
Because if we
know
don't talk about it, like if we don't talk about it, we don't learn from it. We're gonna repeat our
right.
mistakes. Like
I mean,
the whole.
these people live somewhere. They live in neighborhoods. I know that there are people in my neighborhoods, like the Saturday Night Live skit where they're all there and they're like, "What? You were in that mob at this is your neighbor." So if we don't know our neighbors, then we
Mhm.
we don't know who's involved with with these types of, conspiracy theorists, people who hang out on the dark web all the time. We have to get to know the people
Yeah,
around us.
definitely, definitely. I mean, like, what was it, like a few years ago or something like that? That somebody had their neighbor was a serial killer, and they lived
Yeah,
next door to that person for like God knows how many years, and they had no idea the guy was a serial killer until they saw him on the news.
yeah,
That they and they're like, "Oh my God, that was my neighbor." So he was such a nice guy and stuff. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's how pretty much sociopaths are. Psychopaths. They put on a fake persona, and just to bullshit you to gain your trust.
yep, that is true. So now we have to really watch the neighbors, and I'll be honest with you, because of people like that we saw,
Hmm.
when I see neighbors with a flag outside of their homes, it makes me uncomfortable
Hmm.
because,
You telling
you
me?
know, it's I don't know, and that's really bad that
So,
the American flag should be something that would make me uncomfortable, but because of how people have used that and how they have declared that they are the true patriots, it just makes me very uncomfortable, and that's really a sad thing to say.
yeah,
I
like,
love the American flag. I served in the
hmm.
military to defend that American flag.
Thank you for your service.
You're
Appreciate
very
it.
welcome.
What branch were
Um,
you in, by the way,
I
if you don't
I
mind
was
asking?
I was in the Navy. I was in the medical corps.
Nice, nice.
Yep. I was a doc to the Marines.
My grandfather served in the Navy Seabees, and he served in the Marines, and then he went to the Navy. He served in the Navy and the Navy Seabees. He did a collective of, I believe it was like 32 years in the military.
Mm,
So, and yeah, then he became a police officer. So he was a man to the uniform. I tell
wow,
you.
that is awesome. Yeah, I didn't do that long. I went in and got my college money and then went
Good
out and
for you.
spent the rest of my life in school getting various degrees. So
Hey, good for you.
So, well, it's been good talking to you. I hope that
Yeah,
come back again. I'm
definitely.
moving my show from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. And so I'll be doing
Sweet.
this live every Wednesday night. Next week, I'll be back on my usual rant about politics, racism, white supremacy, you name it,
Oh,
whatever's
fun.
going on, I'll talk about it. I do teach people. I My research has been in to deal with racial issues and social injustices, and I do teach that. That's something
Hmm.
that's really important to me, so I'll be inviting some guests onto the show who
Nice.
also work in the field. It's really important for us to recognize that when we do go back to our places of employment, those of us who've had the luxury of working from our homes, that we've got some shit to deal with when we get there. um,
Hmm.
the United States has changed. This country of ours has changed. Our work environments will reflect that change, and it's going to be really important for us to be able to go back in there. And so I will be training people to go back into those places. So that's what I do in addition to, teaching college and seeing patients. So it's
Hmm.
really now needed now more than ever. So
Yeah, that's cool. Well, hey, thanks for having me on. This was great, and can't wait for next week. I love the topics of politics. That's like my favorite thing to talk about. I'm heavily into history and government.
all right then. And where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Texas.
Ah, from Texas. All right. Well, you don't have the twang. I'm a. So, all right then,
Yeah.
Jimmy. It's good talking to you. All
Now, good talking to you too.
right then. All right. All right. So that was Captain Jimmy. Thank you for calling in. And I see some other people in the studio. So, like I was saying, the tonight my show is a little different because today watching everything play out again with the impeachment trial and seeing the video and especially the footage that we haven't seen before, that just kind of took a lot out of me, you know. And if we're not feeling something when we see these images play out before us, then we need to check ourselves. And if we're not feeling exhausted after reliving that, or if this was the first time that some of you saw these images, heard these chants, saw how definitely Trump was connected to, and he's been connected from day one. He's been priming these people since 2015, getting them stoked up. So this has been a slow boil, and it came to a head. And like I say, when we do return full on to our places of work, we've got to deal with this. And so I just hope that we all are ready to deal with it. And so, I don't know who everybody is who's listening. You could be a member of one of these groups. And if you are, hey, I welcome you to call in because I'd love to know what the fuck, man. You know, um, I can tell you this, that we got to talk about it. We got to figure out what happens, what switch tripped, that somebody is so full of hatred for others, and that somebody would want to be involved in this. Those people who are on the dark web and who are engaging in these conspiracy chat rooms, there is some deprogramming that's going to have to take place. There absolutely is. I have talked to people I have counseled people who really do believe in the QAnon bullshit, and who do believe that the pandemic is a hoax. And when you have very persuasive individuals who are telling you these things, and they keep backing it up and they keep repeating and repeating and repeating, and that's exactly what Donald Trump does. And as I made fun of him last week, and I said, he uses repetition, which is a rhetorical strategy that's used by a lot of politicians, but I think that it's really because the man just really doesn't know a whole lot of words. But it's very effective, because apparently many of the people who listen to him don't know a whole lot of words. So, well, it is 11:01, and so that is it for tonight. Tell your friends that I'd love to have them listen up. Next week, I will be continuing on. We will be talking about diversity. We will be talking about returning to the workplace, and what we're going to have to face, as it looks like the vaccine is working. We've got fewer deaths, we've got fewer cases being reported every day, and hopefully by this time next year we can look at all of this in our rearview mirror, but recognize this shit happened, and we've got to make sure that it never happens again. All right, everybody, peace out. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening and week.